everyone. Welcome to TMI Talks, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we have a very interesting topic. It's called Myth or Fact Birth Control Edition. So, we'll play a rapid fire type of game with Dr. Sophia Yen, which I'll introduce in a minute, and we can get started on whether these vast amounts of misinformation out there is myth or fact about birth control. Now, I would like to introduce our very own Dr. Sophia Yen. Hello!
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Okay, so we here have Dr. Sophia Yen, Chief Medical Officer and co-founder of Pandia Health. And today we are going to be busting some myths, right?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it. I have the first one. Birth control pills cause infertility?
Yes, so that is an absolute myth, except for when you're taking them. So my joke is birth control pills make you infertile when you're taking them, and that's why you take them. But I think what people mean is when you come off birth control, if you are on birth control compared to someone who is not on birth control, will you have a harder time getting pregnant? And the answer is no. There's research to show that if you have 100 people on the birth control pill, 100 people not on the birth control pill, you wait 20 years on both of them, and then you take the people on birth control off birth control, and they all try to get pregnant, then 10% of each group will have a hard time getting pregnant. And it has nothing to do with birth control pills, birth control, and IUD, implant, shot, etc. It's simply that 1 in 10 people born with uteruses of heterosexual nature will have a hard time getting pregnant because of something that happens to 1 in 10 people born with uteruses called polycystic ovarian syndrome. And in polycystic ovarian syndrome, you don't always pop out an egg. And if you don't pop out an egg every month, then you're going to have a hard time getting pregnant. And in fact, people who have PCOS are actually treated with birth control pills to normalize their hormones. And then right when they come off, that is the most fertile they're going to be, because once they come off, their hormones just get weirder and weirder and weirder and harder to get pregnant. So birth control pills make you infertile while you're on them, but once you're off, it does not affect your long-term pregnancy.
Right. I know. This is the biggest myth I probably know about birth control, because birth control making you infertile was something that I firmly believed when I was in high school. And it really wasn't until I hit college or even working at this company in Pandia Health that I learned that that's not true at all. Like, I can't believe me, including all my classmates, believe that. It's just outrageous. All right, on to the next one. The pill makes you gain a lot of weight.
So, again, they've done the research on this where they have 50 people on the birth control pill, 50 people not on the birth control pill, and then they follow them over time. And over time, the people on the birth control pill actually weigh 1 pound less on average. Not 1 pound a month, not 1 pound a year, just 1 pound, because the people on the birth control pill are not bloating up, bloating down, bloating up, bloating down, which you do if you're not on the birth control pill. However, we always like to say each person is different, and it's important for people to know that there are 8 different progesterones. And some people respond differently to different progesterones. So if you're a person who a certain progesterone makes you have the munchies and you start eating chips and hamburgers and deep fried things and ice cream and cupcakes, I love ice cream and cupcakes, then you will gain weight. And specifically with Depo-Provera, that one's known to give people the munchies, so the shot. So if you're trying to lose weight, I definitely do not recommend the Depo-Provera shot. But in terms of birth control pills, there is no evidence when you put one group of people on the birth control pill, one group not, and compared between the groups of any weight gain. But again, each person's different. Know that there's 8 different progesterones. If the pill you're taking makes you get munchies and gain weight, tell your doctor. Note which progesterone it is. So oftentimes the birth control pill will have ethinyl estradiol, which is the estrogen, And then the other hormone is usually like norgestrel, levonorgestrel, norethindrone, etc., desogestrel, drospirenone. Note that and tell the doctor and be like, I don't like this one. And then there's 7 others that you could try.
Okay, yeah, that's so interesting. You said like, I believe you said like we can match you based off of like a birth control that makes you gain weight or gets the munchies. So does Pandia Health have has that algorithm built into their system or?
Yeah, so being a woman of color, I realized that what we were teaching in the major academic institutions, we teach all the medical students and residents when you're doing birth control, just start with this birth control pill. And if it doesn't work, then figure it out from there. And talking to my fellow Asian, Black, Latina physicians, we're like, oh, yeah, that pill that we're teaching the medical students to prescribe doesn't work for our people. And I was like, what? Oh, yeah. Because when I started the pill, I had to go through 3 different pills until I could find one that worked for me. And so I was like, let's make this life better for women and skip this try 3 pills to get to the good one. And so I took all 40 different pills and ranked them. Most likely to give you munchies, least likely to give you munchies. Most likely to give you zits, least likely to give you zits. Most likely to have breakthrough bleeding, least likely to have breakthrough bleeding. And fixed it for the side effect that we were seeing in people of Asian, Black, and Latino descent. And so generally, we just did the analysis. I believe 95% of people are happy with the first birth control pill that we prescribe. And we base it on your race as a proxy for genetics. And we're actually doing a genetic study where we're like, do you have 23andMe or DNA Ancestry? Why don't you give us our genetics? And we can be like, oh, you have this 5 blips on your genetics. You ended up with this birth control pill. Then the next person that comes in, we're like, oh, you have the same 5. Then maybe you might like the same. But right now, we're just using race as a proxy for genetics and then body mass index, age, to make sure we give you enough estrogen for your bone health and then your health history as well.
Okay, yeah, that sounds so awesome. I'm glad there's like a system out there to help people. All right, looks like we got our first comment. So we got our first comment from Michelle. Let me highlight the comment on screen here. It's a little bit lengthy, so I'll read it out. Not sure if you're answering questions, but I got my IUD removed and was simultaneously more active, way more active, and legit gained 15 pounds within a month. And then her second comment, could it also be because I'm older? I'm almost 40 and approaching perimenopause. It's frustrating to try and find something that works and doesn't have negative impacts. This is an amazing question, and especially amazing for Dr. Sophia Yen to answer, because she's an expert on birth control, and Pandya Health also does specialize from anything from menstruation to menopause. So take it away.
Yes. So, what I'm hearing, just to recap from Michelle, is that she went off the hormonal IUD, I assume, and then she gained a whole bunch of weight despite doing a whole bunch of exercise. So, number one, know that muscle weighs more than fat. So, it could be all muscle, man. You could be all muscle. Don't get all obsessed with that. But if you notice that your skirt doesn't fit anymore, or that if it's not muscle and that you're doing, one of those scales that check your percentage body fat and your percentage body fat has gone up, then obviously the hormone that was in the IUD was doing something for you. Menopause generally doesn't hit until 50, 52 on average in the United States. So at 40, you are far from it. Not to say that you may not be heading towards it, because it can take 7 years to full on menopause. But also, women that go into menopause on birth control probably have no symptoms at all, because we're replacing their hormones with the birth control. And know that birth control is 20 times the strength of hormone replacement therapy. And that generally you need birth control until you hit menopause, which is again around 52. So I'd say if you went off the IUD and you gained the weight, and if you want to prevent unplanned pregnancy, then maybe go back on the IUD, or you could go on the vaginal ring, or you could go on the pill, or you could go on the patch. It just depends. Know that the progesterone that's in the IUD is levonorgestrel. So if your body liked levonorgestrel, then that may be the similar thing you may want in your pill. For some people, levonorgestrel gives them the munchies and zits. So each person is different. It depends how you how you react to it. And when she actually initially said more active, I thought she meant sexually active. And so sometimes when you're on the birth control pills, it mimics pregnancy. And so your body's like, I don't want to have sex while I'm pregnant, like I'm about to pop out a baby. So no. And so some people, they notice when they come off the birth control pill patch ring that they have a greater libido. And so that is definitely an effect as well of different progesterones. But it sounds like
Nice.
for her, it was did exercise, gained weight off of birth control, which is interesting. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I thought she also had a funny comment here. She said, skirt legit doesn't fit, brand new skirt. Yes, there's always ways to love your body. Buy new clothes, if anything, because there's so many reasons why to love your body. If you're actually not following Pandy and Menopause already, we just made a post on that, so you should check it out. All
Yes.
right, let's get back to our little game. Okay. Using birth control does not protect you from STIs.
So using anything except for condoms and abstinence and masturbation does not protect you from sexually transmitted infections. The only things that will protect you from sexually transmitted infections are condoms, and then of course abstinence and masturbation. On the masturbation front, there are a ton of female-founded, female-led vibrator companies. We are friends with it's Lioness. It is the most Internet of Things vibrators. And then there's also another one by an MIT friend, but there's a lot of vibrators out there. So get out there, get happy with that. I also love that store, Good Vibrations. They're good people as well if you want to go that route. And then on the condom route, I don't have my condom bag here with me, but we have a condom bag. And if you want to buy one, it's $65 and a percentage goes, oh, yay, Leanne. A percentage
Got
goes to
one.
the National Network of Abortion Funds. We'll try to check on the bottom of our website. I think we'll have a link to the condom bag there, or just hit us up on our chat that comes up, and hopefully our patient care advisors can get you to that. But the pill, the patch, the ring, the IUD, the implant, the shot, none of those, vasectomy, tubal ligation, protect you against sexually transmitted infections. And if you're not with your married person, I suggest you just assume everyone has every sexually transmitted infection, because there are things that have no signs. And only if you have sex with it, and then, a week later, and you get all these warts, or you get herpes, or you get gonorrhea, chlamydia, that's the only way you know. I feel it's a huge percentage of people that have chlamydia that have no idea they have it. And that's why we actually screen in anyone under the age of 26 once a year at least for chlamydia, because there's a bunch of people that have it that have no clue whatsoever.
Right. Awesome. Let us move on to the next one. Okay. Now, this one, I was a firm believer, and I preach this everywhere. You need to take a birth control. You need to take a break from birth control every few years.
So that is an absolute myth. And the reason why is partially, if you watch my TEDx talk, hashtag periods optional, if you go to the bottom of pandiahealth.com/periods optional is my TEDx talk. And I explained there that the natural state of a person born with a uterus is pregnant or breastfeeding. And how many periods you have when you're pregnant or breastfeeding? None. And the birth control pill, patch, ring, IUD, implant, shot, all kind of tell your body you're pregnant, don't pop out an egg, don't build the lining to catch a baby. And so we are currently having 350 to 400 cycles in our life, building up, building up, building up, building down, of our uterine lining, when really what's more natural, if we were to have 8 or 9 children in our lives and then breastfeed for 18 months each of those children, would be 100 periods. So we're having enough periods for 3 or 4 other people. And so birth control is just decreasing that up and down, up and down, up and down, and actually decreasing our risk of ovarian, endometrial, and colorectal cancer. Because every time you build up that lining, it can mutate and turn into endometrial cancer. Every time you pop out an egg, and we don't know if it's the popping, the healing, we think it has something to do with the tube, you risk ovarian cancer. And if you ask a smart physician, so feel free to go quiz your physician or provider, how can I decrease my risk of ovarian cancer without taking out my ovaries? And they should know that if you go on the birth control pill, patch, or ring for 5 years, you decrease your risk of ovarian cancer by 50%. And I believe the research shows the longer you're on it, the lower the risk of ovarian cancer, because you're not popping it out every single month, popping and healing, which anytime with popping or healing, you have a risk of cancer.
Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, that leads us right into the next one. Um, does birth control cause cancer? I know you kind of answered this, but
yes. So if you're on any of the methods, they will decrease your risk. Well, certainly not the copper IUD, but any of the hormonal methods will decrease your risk of ovarian cancer if they block ovulation. And so that's usually the ones that have estrogen in them. The ones that have progesterone only will decrease the up and down of the uterus. And then because the colon is around the uterus, I believe that it's a sympathetic colon. And so when this goes up and down, the colon goes, "Ooh, I'm sad for you." And it's either going to run faster, diarrhea, or run slower, constipation. And so if you don't up and down as much, then the colon doesn't go through the and increase your risk of colorectal cancer. There's a slight increased risk of breast cancer from the estrogen, they believe, but actually I think the research has now shown that it's possibly the progesterone that's causing the risk of breast cancer, and that risk is offset. The slight increased risk of breast cancer is offset by the decreased risk of ovarian, endometrial, and colorectal cancer. And so looking at on balance, it's better for you to not have these three cancers and a slight increased risk. And that risk of breast cancer goes away after you've been off the birth control pill for about 5 years. So it washes out that risk. And then also, I think the increased risk is less than if you drink 3 to 5 glasses of wine a week. So a lot of women that are like 40 and above drink 3 to 5 glasses of wine a week. So better for you to cut that than the risk from birth control pill patch ring.
oh, okay, wow. Can you talk more about the wine correlation? That's so interesting. This is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, so we're really learning that alcohol has an increased risk of cancer. And so if you can cut down your alcohol intake, 1, it's extra calories, so if you're trying to lose weight, and 2, it just increases your risk of cancer. And
Oh,
so
wow.
a lot of people are flipping out about estrogen replacement therapy, but there's actually greater risk from the wine you're drinking than there is from estrogen replacement therapy or birth control.
Oh, wow. The more you know, especially because what is that? My dad always used to say, I drink a glass of wine every night to soothe the heart for its health benefits. But I read an article recently that said that may not be beneficial or healthy as it may think. It was like a marketing ploy in the wine industry or something like that.
Wow. We need to write up that blog piece.
Yeah, seriously. Watch out for that, viewers. Okay, now this one I
Love
really
it.
like because I have a copper IUD myself. And before I got one, there was a lot of information out there that said, don't put a foreign object in your body, or if it's a hormonal one, it's going to pump all these chemicals into your body, and it's not safe. So, Dr. Sophia Yen, what do we think? Is the IUD safe and effective for most people with a uterus?
Yes, the IUD is perfectly safe for most people with the uterus. The only people that it would not be okay for is if you're using the copper IUD. If you have, there's Wilson's copper disease where they have too much copper. So that person, you do not want to put copper in. For the levonorgestrel intrauterine device, that one is actually used for people who have bad, evil, heavy periods because 30% of people on the hormonal IUD, normal strength, not the wimpy strength one, but the normal strength one, will have no periods. And then the other 70% will have lighter periods. And I actually co-wrote a paper with Dr. Hillard, who I consider a goddess of pediatric adolescent gynecology, which is the IUD is an underutilized opportunity to prevent teen pregnancy. Because who better to put something that lasts 7 years and beats vasectomy? Yes. No, beats, well, okay, the hormonal IUD beats tubal ligation, which is the surgical equivalent of vasectomy in a woman. And then the implant beats vasectomy. So who better to put something that beats tubal ligation, female sterilization, than a 15-year-old for 7 years? You could cover her through high school and college, right? And then if you need another one, you could replace it for higher education. But set it and forget it, never have to worry about it. Very effective method. And low dose hormone, mainly situated in your uterus, the hormone, as opposed to systemic side effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I love my birth control. I was on birth control for 5 years this before I switched to the IUD. And the only reason why I switched from birth control to the IUD is because I would always forget it. I'd just be one of those people where my lifestyle and plus I just didn't remember the birth control pill all the time. And so I had to switch over. But if I could, I would tell my future self, like, hey, maybe just set an alarm or just be more proactive because at the end of the day, now that I learned you can skip your period, oh my God, I'm just missing out on a whole section of life. Recently, in these past 3 months, I've had events back to back. I went to New York for a little bit, period
Nice.
hit right in the plane. Like, come on. So I would go back and tell my younger self, you know?
And so, on the next round, because you will need to take it out eventually, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to be 52 by then. You could go to the hormonal IUD, you could go to the patch, you could go to the ring. Know that there's a monthly ring that you can just change once a month and not have any bleeds on it whatsoever. There is a 1-year ring. I don't recommend that one until you're 30 years old because it's a very low dose estrogen, and we recommend 30 micrograms of estrogen till you're 30 years old to maximize your bone density. So once you're 30, that's a 1-year ring. You just stick it up there, leave it for the year.
Okay, nice tip. Thank you. I'll hit you up when it's around that time. All right. You can't get pregnant on your period.
So in general, you can't get pregnant on your period, but sometimes you think it's a period, but it's not a period. It's just spotting, or your body can randomly release an egg. Just you don't want to be the one to be pregnant. If you don't want to be pregnant, just assume you can get pregnant anytime. Better safe than sorry. And then the feminist in me, people like, why are you having condoms if you're married? Are you or your husband cheating on each other? And I'm like, no, I don't like to leak semen for 24 hours. And so I make sure my husband takes his semen with. Otherwise, I have to run to the bathroom and do some Kegels. But I'm just saying that if you possibly could get pregnant, and you are of fertile age and you are not on the, IUD implant shot pill patch ring and it's your period, I would definitely use a condom and just assume that you could get pregnant. I mean, it's very, very low likelihood, but there have been instances where a woman didn't know she was pregnant and had spotting and thought that was her period, but it wasn't. So again, and there are people that pop out eggs at times they shouldn't. Usually if you're bleeding, it means the egg came out, was there, and it didn't meet up. And then that's why the lining fell down. So it would be hard to get pregnant on your period if it's a full on period. But it's possible, and you wouldn't want to be pregnant if you don't want to be pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. So don't risk it. Is basically the short answer. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, emergency contraception is not the same as an abortion pill. So typically for our users, the emergency contraception is labeled as Plan B. You've probably heard of this, like me, go get my girl, Plan B. And the abortion pill is usually labeled as Plan C. Now this one's less known. Can you explain the difference between the two and if this is a myth or a fact?
Yes. So it is an absolute fact that emergency contraception is not abortion. And so people are getting this confused, one, because of politics, and two, because the drugs came out at the same time. So Plan B and mifepristone mifepristone both came out at the same time, and so a lot of people got it confused. So if you have a positive pregnancy test and you don't want to be pregnant, if you have a positive pregnancy test, that means you're pregnant, unless you have some random tumor and stuff. But like you're pregnant, and you don't want to be pregnant anymore, then you need to take medication abortion. Plan C is a website where you can go to find out about medication abortion. But if you say Plan C, a doctor may not know what the heck you're talking about. So you want to say medication abortion. And it's 2 drugs. It's mifepristone and misoprostol. And know that the anti-abortion, anti-women, anti-bodily autonomy, anti-religious freedom Republicans have been trying to make mifepristone illegal. Mifepristone was passed by the FDA in the United States, I believe, in 2020, so 4 years ago, and 5 million US women have used it as part of medication abortion. You could just use misoprostol alone, and so California was stockpiling just the misoprostol, and I was like, wait, you got the wrong M. I would be stocking the mifepristone that they're about to make illegal, not the leftover one. And you could use the leftover one alone, but it only has a 72% efficacy versus, or something like that, versus 93, 97% efficacy when you put misoprostol and mifepristone together. And then mifepristone is actually safer than penicillin, Viagra, and Tylenol. So if you're going to take mifepristone away, you take away all those, like, don't mess with it. The people that are trying to take this away are just causing cruel and unusual punishment to those of us who are born with uteri, those of us who may need to access abortion because of rape, incest, or just condom popped, or whatever situation. My body, my business, your body, your business, my body, my religion, your body, your religion. Don't take away a safe drug that has been used by 5 million plus women in the United States with no problems whatsoever. So, but Plan B is the original OG emergency contraceptive pill. The negative of Plan B and its generics like My Way and some other ones is that it has a body mass index limitation. So before buying Plan B, before using Plan B and its generics, check your BMI. All you got to know is your height and your weight. Most people know. Type it in the computer. It'll tell you a number. If it's 26 or greater, Plan B and its generics don't work so well. If your BMI is 30 or greater, don't waste your money. It doesn't work better than if you just took a sugar pill. So you might as well just eat a Tic Tac or a Starburst. So don't even if your BMI is 30 or greater. And actually know that there's 4 different emergency contraceptions. The most effective is the copper IUD. It works 99.99999% of the time. So if you're sexually assaulted, you forget, or the condom pop, you can run to the ER or go to your family practice OB-GYN and tell them, throw up a copper IUD. And any of the emergency contraceptives, you can use up to 5 days after contraceptive failure. But the pills, the sooner you act, the better. You can also use the hormonal IUD, so the Mirena or the Letta IUD, generally the standard dose, not the low dose one. And that has had a failure of like 3 out of 313, so not bad. And then comes prescription emergency contraception. So that's Ella. And if it were me, my friend, my daughter, anyone I know, anyone listening to this right now, I would get Ella over Plan B and its generics. And I'm not paid by Ella. I'm just trying to prevent unplanned pregnancy. The reason why is Ella beats Plan B and its generics at every single time point. Ella is also free if you have insurance. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, no copay, no deductible for any FDA-approved birth control. And we write for Ella with every patient that comes through that wants it. We're like, you want some emergency contraception with that? And then lastly, the BMI limitation of Ella is 35. So if your BMI is 35 or greater, you can only use the IUDs for emergency contraception. The pills will not work for you. And if your BMI is 26 to 35, I would recommend Ella over Plan B and its generics. And at every time point, I would recommend Ella. And you can get it in advance of need. So I like to think of it as a fire extinguisher sitting in the corner in case if the condom pops at 3 a.m., I want that medicine in the person with the uterus's mouth by 3:10. I don't want any cuddling, huddling, waiting in the morning after, because if the egg pops out, it's too late, game's up, not going to work.
Yes, exactly. I love that you mentioned Ella because we love Ella over here. I can't believe it beats Plan B at every single price point. Like I not even just price point, but like every single point.
Time.
My like time, everything. So
BMI.
I love
Yep.
it. All right, since we started a little late, we are going to have one more, even though we are a bit over time. So natural planning is just as effective as modern birth control methods. So I'm guessing this would include the pull out method or the rhythm method. Can you shed some light on this?
So it doesn't include the pull-out method. That's on its own. It's called the withdrawal, and that has a very high failure rate. The rhythm method, 1 in 4, pretty much. It's 24%. 25 would be 1 in 4. So let's just round it up. 1 in 4 will get pregnant. So if you're okay with 1 in 4 chance of getting pregnant, go for the rhythm method. A new thing came out called Natural Cycles, and it's an app. And because it was FDA approved, everybody was like, "Oh, it must be good." But no, it just means it won't kill you. It's safe, and so it works. In research that's been reviewed, it has like a 1 in 10 failure rate. So if you're fine with a 1 in 10 chance of getting pregnant, then go for it. The reason why it works better than the rhythm method, which is don't have sex around your fertile days, is it combines the basal body temperature and your periods to predict. But the reason why these methods fail is because I don't know about you, but when I was younger, whenever I got stressed, my period would get moved out, right? And the more
Yeah,
stressed I was, the farther it would go. So I'd be like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And then it'd take even longer for my period to come, right?
yeah.
And so if your periods aren't regular, these are not good methods for you. But if you're every 28 days, rain or shine, stress or no stress, eating, exercise, whatever, okay, you are a good candidate for this. But if
I
you're
don't
like
know
me,
like
oh my God, there's an exam. Oh my God, I gotta pull an all nighter. Oh my God, I didn't eat because I was stressed. I ate too much, blah, 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 blah. If your period is not, it's not going to be a good thing. Plus, just like it's hard to take a pill every single day. For the basal body temperature, you have to take your temperature before you get up or move. So the thermometer has to be right by the side of your bed. You got to reach for it before you wake up. And you have to get at least 3 hours of sleep, which most of us do. But you have to get regular sleep, and you have to touch the and put it here and check it before you move or get up. Because if you move or get up, you can mess up that temperature, and then
that.
it will tell you you're pregnatable when you may not be pregnatable, or vice versa. So
Oh wow. That's a
again,
crazy
1 in 10 chance of getting pregnant on natural cycles,
that's funny how it's
and one
labeled
in four.
natural.
Well, it's
It's
natural because you're natural.
yeah. I guess to me it doesn't sound natural because you have to do all these extra steps and take your temperature and then not move before bed and all these other things. Just because natural indicates kind of like ease and comfort and like easiness,
It's
organicness.
branding. Yes, people have
That's
their natural cycles. But as I was saying, it's actually unnatural how many periods we're having in our lifetime compared to what is natural.
yes. Okay. Well, that wraps up our game, Myth or Fact Birth Control Edition. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Sophia Yen, for being here today. I love playing this game with you. I learned something seriously new every single live stream, and I can't wait to catch you for the next one.
Yay!
Yay, bye.